Hello everyone and welcome to another real-time strategy video. In this video I'm going to be listing my top 5 wanted factions for Total War Warhammer 3. Some of these factions are incredibly likely to be true, just because of hints CA have given in interviews and blog posts, but some are less likely and more of a personal addition that I hope will be included in the game. I'm going to be focusing on what factions are most likely to going to be in the third installment of the game, not DLC for the ongoing 2 installments currently out already, so that means there will be no Araby, Amazons or Vampire Coasts. As the third installment of the series will fill out the eastern provinces, I doubt CA will include factions in the far west, which is why these are not in this list. Kislev nearly made it into this list, as I feel it would be the perfect time to fill out that faction with its unique units and heroes finally, but I wanted to focus on factions that currently have no presence in the world at all. So sadly, no men riding polar bears will be in this list. I hope you enjoy this video, and please remember the time at which this video has been made. You may be watching in crazy future land where this information is months or years old, but seeming as none of you travelled in a time machine to help me with this video before I posted it, I decided to take a leap of faith and post it anyway. I hope you enjoy. Number 5. Nippon and Cathay. Located somewhere off the coast of the mainland by the far east, Nippon is said to be a powerful feudal kingdom where knights, resplendent in brightly coloured armour made of lacquered wood, enforce a complex and rigid caste system. Said to be intensely distrustful of outsiders, they only permit foreigners to travel in their lands rarely. Little else is known about Nippon, though doubtless if the rest of the world is anything to go by, it will be populated by its own unique and deadly monsters and perils. Past the World's Edge Mountains and across the Great Skull Lands, on the other side of the Mountains of Morn and vast steppes, begin the Uncharted Lands. Only a single path travels to the east, known as the Silk Road. It runs through the untamed steppes until its destination, the fabled Kingdom of Cathay. The lure of the Silk Road is great to the merchants' houses of Tilia and the burgomeisters of the Empire, as well as the traders of Araby. But the road is far from safe. Roving bandits, steppe nomads, and the vast hobgoblin hordes of Hobglar Khan who rule the steppes are an ever-present threat, and one that cannot be taken too lightly. Only one caravan out of 10 makes the trip safely. The travellers that return from Cathay tell tales of great golden pagodas and the inexhaustible armies of the eastern despots. They bring exotic spices and finest silks, gleaming gold, luxurious porcelain vases, and all manner of strange and wonderful items from the kingdom of the dragon. Glimpses of the mysterious glory of the distant and rich Orient. These are lower on my list and joined together because they are most likely going to be non-playable factions to pad out the otherwise empty eastern provinces, alongside the kingdoms of Ind and the hinterlands of Koresh. But that does not mean I would not enjoy playing as either of them. Unless CA fill the east with Skaven and Dwarfs, it may get a bit lonely in the Mountains of Morn and beyond, with little variety to engage with, which is why I've included these 2 minor Empire-like factions into my list. These 2 factions would really complete the eastern feel of the world and give much needed love to the human factions and units. Not every faction of men in Warhammer Fantasy are Germanic Holy Roman Empire-esque armoured soldiers with cannons and handguns. Many have their own unique history, look, lore and units, so a little more love to this variety of men in the Warhammer world would be much appreciated and really help differentiate the region you are playing in. Kingdoms of Ind would expand the variety even more, but I felt squeezing 3 factions into one number was pushing it a bit. Number 4. Demons of Chaos. Demons of Chaos are a faction which were in my original top 10 missing factions in Total War Warhammer. I have covered a lot of what I wanted to say in that video about the possibilities of this faction being in the game, but I wanted to expand on that with a focus on this second game now being available. But a quick refresher, it is not just men who fight for Archaon and the gods of Chaos to earn their favour, it is also the realms of Chaos itself. This faction is not just 1 really, but 4. Each god of Chaos has its own multitude of demonic monsters at their disposal, ready to unleash upon the old world. The demons of Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh all have their own special abilities, weaknesses, hatreds, and magic, their own unique leaders, heroes, history, and units. Nurgle unleashes deadly plague bearers, plague toads, plague drones, and the Great Unclean One. Tzeentch releases screamers, pink horrors, flamers, blue horrors, and the Lord of Change. Khorne demands his bloodletters, blood crushers, flesh hounds, and bloodthirsters to quench his thirst with the blood of the old world, while Slaanesh desires her followers such as the Daemonettes, Seekers of Slaanesh, Seeker Chariots, and the Keeper of Secrets to spread her corruption and deadly temptation across the lands. This variety of units could easily fill an army roster. They have fast cavalry, flying units with poison, chariots, skirmish units, bulky melee units, wizards, heroes, swarms, heavy cavalry, and even long-range artillery. They could each have their own faction leader hero. Epidemus for Nurgle, the Changeling for Tzeentch, Skulltaker for Khorne, and the Mask of Slaanesh for, well, Slaanesh, each with their own abilities and disadvantages reflecting the god that they are fighting for. In the lore, the Chaos Gods share a hatred for each other. Tzeentch hates Nurgle for their nature being completely against change, which Nurgle in turn hates Tzeentch for. Being the god of entropy and decay, Nurgle naturally hates the god who enjoys progress and restoration. Khorne hates Tzeentch and Slaanesh only because he respects strength, and they use other methods of confrontation which he deems cowardly and sneaky. Tzeentch and Slaanesh in response hate Khorne as they see him as a dumb brute. Khorne and Nurgle get along mildly, same with Slaanesh and Tzeentch, but with the Gods of Chaos it is not always so black and white. Many times will come when they all hate each other equally, or band together peacefully and fight for one purpose. The latter is a lot rarer than the former, but in recent years it has come true for just one man, one purpose, Archaon. Demons of Chaos could easily stand as their own faction, but they could also just bolster the Chaos faction's roster. When starting a campaign as Chaos, you could choose to be aligned with a specific god of Chaos. Then, from there, you lock yourself out of recruiting certain units, but then gain abilities and specializations based on your god of choice. Your hero would either be demon or human, and then the rest would play out as a normal Chaos campaign. If you pick Slaanesh, for example, you would not be able to recruit Bloodess of Khorne, but you could recruit Seekers of Slaanesh. You would then pick from Sigvald the Magnificent or the Mask of Slaanesh, as they would both be their starting legendary lords. If you couldn't pick a Chaos God, you could pick Chaos Undivided. This allows you to recruit all units available to all gods, but due to this you would experience infighting, attrition, and low morale as a result of the demonic units hating one another. Led by Archaon the Everchosen, it will be a very powerful roster, mixed with the challenge of making sure you can control your armies without them killing each other before they even reach the enemy armies. Number 3. Halflings. A race roughly half a man's size that has always seemed to be wherever mankind has gone. The Dwarfs record that a tribe of beardless manlings we first thought to be children travelled with the human tribes as they passed through the World's Edge Mountains. On the other hand, some Imperial scholars think the Halflings are a race of men experimented on by Verena to find a way to resist chaos, while a few others argue Ranald created them as a bizarre joke. Being a rural folk, even in their towns, the Halflings are earthy types who enjoy good food, strong drink, a good smoke, and conversation that would turn a Marienburg Marine's ears blue. Expressive to a fault, Halflings think nothing of discussing their aunt's nightly businesses with perfect strangers in complete detail. Just to pass the time, you know. They love a good chat, and strangers are welcomed by farmers along the roads as long as they bring gossip, coin, or lunch, or preferably all three. Halflings in the Moot and elsewhere have always been known as martial people, and the idea of halfling warriors is the butt of several jokes among humans. The truth, however, is somewhat different. In defense of their homeland, or quarters within a human town during a riot, the normally placid halflings can be aggressive and brave. As part of their war effort, Elder Hismi sent a large contingent of halflings to act as scouts and skirmishers for the Imperial army. Several were mentioned in dispatches by their commanders for bravery and resourcefulness, though these were often accompanied by complaints from their quartermasters. A silly pick, but a fun one. Halflings would be great fun to play. Who doesn't want to have a pot full of stew being flung across the map in a slingshot as an artillery piece, or little hobbits charging down some Skaven on ponies? They could be hired as local mercenaries for Empire armies as well. They would have great scouts and skirmish units. Just a bit of a fun faction to play to lighten the grim dark feel the game has sometimes. If this comes true, I'll be making sure I unleash a giant upon some poor halflings in a skirmish battle. Number 2. Chaos Dwarves. The Chaos Dwarves, sometimes known as Fire Dwarves, are an industrious, dark-souled and merciless warrior race of demonsmiths, slavers, and brutal killers that dominate the dark and cheerless landscapes of the Dark Lands. Long separated from their fading kin of the West, the Chaos Dwarves have given themselves over to the Dark Master, and Chaos has worked subtle changes on their bodies. They are the darkness and evil of the dwarf race given form, slowly mutating even the notoriously resilient dwarven physiology, inflicting twisting terrors on their minds and souls so that they have become a spite-filled and calculatingly cruel reflection of what they once were. Unlike other dwarves, the Chaos Dwarves are deeply learned in the sorceress's arts, and have become obsessed with the control of hellish forces and the fires of the deep earth, combining the dark lore that they have gleaned with an artisanship and skill for metalwork and industry from their ancient past. They build the greatest and most infernal war machines this world will ever know, hulking cannons the sizes of houses or shrieking rockets that could obliterate entire villages into ruins. From their hell factories deep within the Dark Lands, shielded by deadly mountain ranges and set amid desolations of industrial waste and the haunts of monstrous beasts, the empire of the Chaos Dwarves has faded into legend to many in the old world. But those forced to confront their implacable black iron-clad armies and savage war engines know the truth. The day may yet come when the armies of dread Tsar Nagarund march forth once more, bringing their infernal war machines to sow misery and mayhem to all four corners of the world. This long-awaited faction is a top pick for a main faction in Total Warhammer 3, one of the very rare to see tabletop armies, which was barely supported by Games Workshop until Forge World created some models. This faction is full of interesting and unique ideas, which will bring a lot of unique experiences to the game. Because there are so few of them left, they leave a lot of the bulk of their fighting to their slaves, normally comprising of orcs, goblins or hobgoblins. This in itself could be a great feature to the Chaos Dwarves. When enslaving greenskin units after a battle, you would actually get that many orcs you enslaved into your existing army. These orcs could turn on you mid-battle or rebel much like Skaven armies do, if there are no Chaos Dwarf units to keep them in line. You would have to manage your slaves like you do with the Dark Elves, but where the Dark Elves use slaves for economy, the Chaos Dwarves use it for military. With their bull centaurs, magma cannons, dreadquake mortars, deadly sorcerers, and burning winged demons akin to the Balrog, but more bullish, these would be an exciting race to play. They have a great mod available for the first installment of the series if you just can't wait until the third installment of the game to try them out. Number 1. Ogre Kingdoms. The Ogre Kingdoms is the rightful and sovereign domain of the large and brutish ogre race. Wandering tribes of ogres can be found wreaking their way across the globe, erecting many strongholds and plundering far-off and exotic lands, the likes of which no man will ever see in their lifetime. Yet, no matter how far away they may be, all ogres refer to the scattered tribal kingdoms that dominate the slopes and river valleys of the Mountains of Morn, their rightful, hard-earned homeland. It is here, amongst the frozen peaks and blistering blizzards, that mighty tyrants rule over their brutal kingdoms, warring amongst each other, looting, extorting, and ransacking all before them as a tribute to their own gluttonous appetite and their ever-hungry god, the Great Maw. They fight as thugs, bandits, and mercenaries, their hulking numbers coming from a wide diversity of warmongering tribes scattered all across the mountain range. They pick on the strong and the weak alike, battling mighty foes and powerful kingdoms many thousands of miles away for all the alluring promises of gold, plunder, and meat. Even here, amongst the peaks where they hold claim to all, fearsome beasts and mighty creatures dominate the dark corners of their realm, preying on all those who come too close. Yet such is the ogre's ferociousness, stubborn and ever-ravenous nature, that they see these creatures not as foe to cower and hide from, but as a challenge that needs to be brought down, crushed beneath their boot and eaten to fill their hungry bellies. Armies have come and gone throughout the ages in the mountains, but only the ogres can truly claim to have conquered it all. It was the ogres who brought down the mighty sky titans of the upper peaks, bringing their civilization low and condemning their children into exile or enslavement. It is they who once claimed a mighty realm within the great steppes of the Far East, battling the ancient Grand Empire of Cathay for supremacy before the day came that their malevolent and ever-hungry god, the Great Moor, punished the ogres for their sins and brought about the great migration of their race. That was many thousands of years ago, and as the ogres grow in numbers once more, the cycle of history is set to repeat itself. Should nothing stop them now, it is said that the ogres will stop at nothing to devour every living thing within this ravished world. Now, Ogre Kingdoms made my original top 10 wanted factions list from over a year ago. They are easily my most anticipated faction to play as. They are so unique, with such a cool lore, that they are a must in Total War Warhammer 3. They will fill out the Mountains of Morn region, which is currently a giant block missing from the map. They will have small model numbers in a unit, akin to a unit of trolls or Fimir, but be very bulky, slow, and have a massive damage output. They have allies such as giants, goblins like Noblars, yetis, saber cats with hunters, and their discarded and mutated infants grown adults, the Gorgers. They even have a heavy cavalry called Mournfang, massive Thunder Tusk Mammoth Riders, cannon-wielding ranged units, scrap launcher catapults, and more. They have many options for starting legendary lords such as Golfag Maneater, Greasus Goldtooth, Brag the Gutsman, or Scrag the Slaughterer. They are the perfect pick for CA to use as a main faction in the third installments of the series. One that is a must. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and let me know what your predicted factions are for Total War Warhammer 3. If you enjoyed, leave a like or a comment, and check out my other top 10s and list videos. I'll see you soon.